All right. So today we are going to look at lesson 4-4, creating an app with Unity, a Magic 8 Ball. This is super simple lesson. So supposedly you can create simple Magic 8 Ball app in like 20 minutes, or actually less than that. Okay? And this is important because after this, we are going to start working on group project. Okay? In a group project, we are going to create simple PSA game, like public service announcement types of game. And the template that I want you to use is something similar to this Magic 8 Ball. Okay? And this one, I'm going to explain this in a moment, but we're going to use GUI, graphical user interface in Unity, and you will realize, I mean, later on, you probably are not going to use this GUI that much, because now Unity actually has Canvas UI, so you will actually use more, Canvas UI more. But the reason why we use GUI is because I want you to think about this kind of traditional way of making game or making text game. Okay? So the reason why we're doing this is to understand traditional way to create simple text game, okay, using code only. Okay? I'll get that in a moment. Okay? So anyways, Magic 8 Ball is something we're going to work on. So if you go to lesson 4-4, okay, online Magic 8 Ball. If you go here, you will see something like this. So everyone knows what Magic 8 Ball is. Okay, what is your question? And usually, like, it will ask you concentrate very, very hard and click on the ask button. So you have to think about your own question and then concentrate and click ask button. And this one particularly has, it can display the answers as animation, image, and text. Maybe let's just look at the text for now and click ask. And it will give you answer. Really hazy, try again. Is it going to rain this weekend? It is decidedly so. So everyone prepare umbrella for this weekend. So here, I want you to think about what's really happening behind screen now. Okay? So this one, if you think about it, okay, let's not really focus on this Magic 8 Ball, but let's try to think about what's really happening here. There's a button, and then it will display certain information. Yes. Basic RNG. Okay. Yes. Yeah, so he said RNG, which is a random number generator. Okay. So basically, if you think about these types of app, okay, there's random number generator. Okay, whenever you click. So obviously, we all know that Magic 8 Ball basically, I mean, yeah, it's totally fake, I would say. It doesn't really do anything, but it will generate a random number, okay? And depending on that random number, it will display that message. Okay, ask. And this one actually is animation, so it will pop up like a little later. But if you do image, okay, or text, whatever you do, it will generate this message randomly. In computer programming, there could be two steps. One, it will generate a random number, and depending on that number, it will display that message. Okay? So if you go here, Magic 8 Ball content. So this one usually, if you go out and buy a Magic 8 Ball toy, they usually use these 20 answers, okay? And then 10 of them positive, okay? 5 of them kind of in the middle, and 5 of them are negative. Okay? So if you now think about it, maybe if you are asked to code or program this types of app or program, you can think about, oh, I can generate random number between like 0 and 20. And then depending on that number, I can actually display all these different text, basically. Okay. So now, even though you cannot really visualize whole process, I hope you can think about, oh, random number generator, float rand equal random not range. Okay. And then if rand equal to 1, I'm going to display this. Else if random number generated is equal to 2, I'm going to display something else. Okay. So I hope that you can kind of visualize that random number generator, and probably we're going to use if and else statement, okay, to create that. Okay. So let's actually take a look at that. Okay. And then here, recreating a Magic 8-Ball app using Unity. And this one is a little more fancier one. Okay. So if you actually open that one, if you download that Magic 8-Ball app, where is it? Okay. This is what you will see, and then if you play this, actually, let me connect the sound, because this one has sound. And there's a start button here. And this is kind of tiny, but there's ask button. So here, this one was created for Android app. So now what I can do is I can go to File, Build Settings, and switch it to Android. Okay, and then actually it's already in Android setting, but then now I can go to Game and choose Portrait setting. Okay, and then it will look better. Okay. Still kind of too tiny, but we can ask.
Not likely. A shot I'm not willing to call. I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't bet on it.
So here, now we can think about what's happening here. Okay, we talked about that random number generator, and random number generator will generate a random number, and depending on that random number, it will display different text, and it actually plays different sound bite. Okay? And then now you can possibly think about, oh, to play that soundbite, we can use play one shot. Okay? And now, what I want you to think about is, if you go to scene, actually there's nothing here. There's nothing here. So again, the reason why we are, especially I want to talk about this GUI is, this is how we used to program. Okay? So we really don't have this visualized, like, I mean, we don't have like game engine before, so probably we use it just coding all the time, all the way, to create something like this. And then we are actually going to do something similar, because GUI in Unity is again, like these days people actually use UI canvas a little more. Okay? So GUI is kind of like a sort of old technology, old way of creating a graphical user interface. But this is kind of interesting to see. Or if you're taking Game 140, or if you took Game 140 before, this is kind of similar to place your image or text, okay, on the screen using like C++. So that's what we're going to do. So now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to close it. And I'm going to create new project. And I'm going to actually create a project in 2019.1. Okay. And it really doesn't matter, but I'll just use 2D. Because we are going to create simple 2D app for Android. Okay. And I'm going to name it as 8ball. One thing you can try, you can put number 8. Well, actually, never mind. You can name it whatever you want, 8ball. I'm going to put it on the desktop. Okay. And create. So this is something you can do really, really quick. Okay. And then there's going to be a lot of repetition. Okay, so first thing first, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to File and Build Settings, and I'll select Android and switch platform. And then now I'm going to go to Game and look at this aspect ratio setting. Okay, and I'll probably use portrait. Just for this one, I'm going to use like a 720 by 1280. Okay. It would look the same, but kind of lower resolution. Okay. And now, I'm going to go back to my scene. Okay. So here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an empty game object. So create empty, okay, game object. And then this one, it's totally up to you. You can leave it as HDI, okay, or actually not HDI, HUD, heads-up display. It's not really heads-up display, but like sometimes we basically want to have placeholder to put our game manager. Okay, so I'll just name it as HUD just for now. Okay, and then now what I'm going to do, I'm going to click Add Component. I'm going to create new script. I'm going to name it as Game. Okay, G as capital letter, and M as capital letter. Okay, Game Manager. Okay. And create and add. And now, if you look at your assets folder, we do have this Game Manager. Okay. It actually looks a little different compared to other script. Okay? This is, I would say, some like legacy in game development and game design and development. Okay, even in Unity, okay, we sometimes use this script and name it as game manager. Okay, this would be one of the most important game script in your game. Okay, and then again, if you name your file as game manager, okay, Unity recognize it as one of the most important script in your game. So it actually give you this different gear types of icon, because this will be one of the most important piece in your game. Okay? So a lot of times, if you think about what we did before, some script, like we use it. For instance, in 2D Pong, we use it some like scoring system or whatever. It could be game manager, okay? Because that's the important script, okay, that governs how this game gets played. Okay? And now, what we are going to do, okay, you can actually take a look at this one, like game mechanics, use it. Okay. There's GUI. Okay. So the idea is now, okay, what we're going to do, we are going to use, okay, some GUI. Okay, GUI stands for Graphical User Interface. Okay. So this is a one way to create a GUI system using the script. Okay. So again, there are two ways to create a button for your game. Like for instance, let's do this. You can open this game manager. Okay, I have this game manager. And what I'm going to do, I can create, okay, new function, void on GUI. Okay. Parenthesis open and close. Oops. Okay. It could be private, it really doesn't matter. But I'll just actually just leave it as something like this. Okay. Void on GUI. So this function will display GUI object on your screen or in your game. Okay. So there are many different types of GUI object. One thing we can play with is GUI.label. Okay. GUI.label. Okay. And then I have a little link here. Okay. GUI label, and you will be able to see this manual. Okay. Then this one explains the syntax. GUI label, parenthesis open, new, rect, like rectangle, 4 numbers, x coordinate, y coordinate, width, and height. And this is text information that goes in that GUI label. Okay. And good thing about compiler, once I type GUI label, yeah, I can do this, GUI.label, and then here, it actually gives me this syntax. Okay. So I'm going to do parenthesis, or you can copy this and paste it. Maybe we can do that. Okay. And basically what it means, we are going to place this label at x10, y10, width 100, and height 220, and text information will be hello world. Okay. So I'm going to save it. and play this. And now it's really tiny, but I have this one, hello world, x10, y10, width 100, height 20. Okay. So now I can actually change this one to maybe 600 and 300. Then basically what's going to happen is, this one is a little tricky part. Okay. If you put 600, so for GUI, okay, your origin is left top corner. Okay. So if you put 0, 0, it will appear right over here. And now I'm using 600 and 300. So 600 probably this way, 600, and 300 this way. So now, oops, I didn't save it. Okay. So I'm going to save this and play. Now I have 600 here, 300 here. Okay. So now, okay, I'm going to try to use some other things. Okay. GUI button. Okay. So GUI button is slightly, if you want to use GUI button, you must use if statement. The reason why is it should be accompanied with if statement, because GUI button will take input, either clicked or not clicked. Okay. So here I put GUI button here. Okay. Something like this. Okay. You can play with this. Okay. I'm going to use some like this way. Okay. Whoops. Same thing. If parenthesis open, GUI dot button, new rectangle, 10 set x coordinate, y coordinate, width and height, and text information. Okay. And then if this is clicked, this will be executed. Okay. So let's do this, something like that. So if GUI button, new rect, I'm going to put like 300, 300, 80, 40, okay, and quotation mark, click. And here, one thing you have to understand though, when you do GUI button, sometimes it's confusing because you will have many these parentheses open and close. So now it actually kind of shows that I'm missing one parenthesis, closing parenthesis like this. Okay. And then I can do debug .log. Okay. Button is clicked. Something like this. Oops. Oh. Then, if you save it, I'm going to go to Unity. And maybe I will actually go to game and then make this one even smaller. Okay, 480, 800. And now it's a lot smaller, so I have to go back and then 300. Okay. Yeah, this should be fine. Okay. So I changed my screen size a lot smaller. Okay. And then now I'm going to play. So now hello world, and there's click button. Whenever I click, it will debug, it will print out this button is clicked. Okay. So now, let's try to create super simple magic 8-ball. Okay. So what's going to happen is, it will basically have a button, okay? And then it will, whenever button is clicked, we're going to create random number, and depending on that random number, we're going to display some information. Okay? So now, let's try to do some simpler way, and then I'm going to kind of polish it a little bit. So we are using GUI system, so that's why we have this void on GUI. Okay, remember that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to have simple button. Okay, button at the beginning. Okay, instead of click, I'm going to say ask. Okay, and then here, whenever this button is clicked, okay, well, I can just leave it here, but the idea is, next step is, I'm going to have float rand equal random.range. I'm going to have maybe just 0.0f to 10.0f. Okay. So I'm going to just generate a random number. And then here, if this rand is less than 1.0 f, okay. For now, maybe I'll just do this. Okay, 1 is, well, I'll say I'm going to just steal some of text here. I'm going to say it is certain. Okay. And then else if rand is less than 2.0. Okay. I'm going to say without a doubt. Okay. And else if rand is less than 3.0. Okay. And we have to do, I'm not going to do everything, but you get the point. You may rely on. Okay. And then I can just keep going. No. And then I'll stop here, but I can just keep going, right? Okay. So now, I'm going to save it. Okay. So again, like I want you to see the process and try to think about like the logic. Okay. There's a button. If button is clicked, it will generate a random number, and depending on that random number, it will actually display different message. Okay. Let's see whether it really works. And I'm going to go back to Unity and play. So ask button here. Right now we are using debug. So my message will be displayed left bottom corner. Okay. Click. It said please ask again. Click again. It is certain. Click again. You may rely on. So now we know that whenever I click this ask button, it generates random number. It displays something. I mean, depending on that random number, it displays something. So now, okay, next step I'm going to do, instead of debug, I actually want to use GUI label. Okay. So now, I'm going to do something like this. Okay. GUI.label, okay. New rect. Here's my button. So I'm going to display this a little underneath this button. So maybe 200, 600, and 150 or 200. That's width, and 40 as the height. And I'm going to put it is certain. And then now we know that whenever it generates number less than 1, it will actually display this message on the screen, not in the debug area. It will display that message on the screen. Let's see how it works. Okay. I'll save it and play and ask. So again, if it generates number greater than 1, it will still display some message using debug. But when it displays a number less than, generate number less than 1, it will generate something over here. Okay. But now you realize we're generating number between 0 and 10. So only 10% of time, I'm going to get some message right over here. Okay. Now it's really hard. It's not working well. Okay. So now we know that maybe it's not the right way to do it. Okay. The reason why is, can anybody guess why it doesn't display? Well, I mean, let me actually do this. Okay. I'm going to do this and replace this. I want you to kind of understand why it doesn't work and then try to think about how we can make it work. Okay, so now we actually put all GUI label. Okay, so in my head, oh, whenever I do this, whenever I click this ask button, I want to see that message. But actually, I don't see anything. And there's reason why. Can anybody tell me why? Or can anybody guess why it doesn't work? Okay, the reason why it doesn't work is, look at this if statement. Okay, so this thing only get executed when this one is true. Okay, so whenever you click it, it actually is true only for one frame. So it probably appears in one frame, but it doesn't stay there because this one, once you release your mouse button, it becomes false and it doesn't get executed. Does that make sense? Because this is I want you to understand that the if statement, how if statement works. Okay? So to make it work, okay, better way to do it is, now we are going to think about a little more about variable. Okay, so what we want to do is, okay, we want to have some sort of okay, we want to have this GUI label outside of this if statement. Okay, and then, okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to cut this. Maybe I can put it here. Okay, and then, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is text, right? And I want to create a container that can hold text. Okay? And then, depending on the random number generated, okay, I'm going to switch the content. Okay? What I mean by that is, okay, I can actually show you this. Okay, I'll cut it. So now, if I only have this one, okay, I'll see this. It is certain right over here, right? Now what I want to do, okay, instead of this is a quotation mark and text information. I'm going to use a container, like variable. I'll name it as MSG, like stands for message. Right? Now, Unity doesn't know what MSG is, okay? So we have to declare and let Unity know what MSG is. So up top here, I'm going to say, okay, MSG, okay, is variable. Data type, we're going to use string. Okay, string, MSG. Okay, and initial value, I'm going to maybe say concentrate and ask. Okay. And now, now, this MSG will be replaced with this text information. Okay. So I'm going to save it. And I'm going to play. Now it said concentrate and ask. Okay. And now, I'm going to do this. We use this variable up here. Okay. And then in on GUI, I can actually say MSG, no, it's something else. MSG equal to, I don't think so. Okay. Then now, even though it was initial value is concentrate and ask, whenever it goes on GUI, this MSG is now get new value, which is I don't think so. So as a result, I'm going to have I don't think so. So now, the logic is now, okay, we do have this MSG, okay, we're going to do the same thing, okay. So if GUI button, okay, new rect, you can like use whatever you have, and I want to say 300, 150, 80, 40, and click, okay. And then here, whenever it's clicked, I want to generate a random number. Float rand equal to random.range 0 to 5 this time, okay. And then if rand is less than 1.0, okay, now I'm going to say MSG equal go for it, okay. And else if rand is less than 2.0, oops, I forgot F here, okay. MSG is yes, okay. And else if rand is less than 3.0, MSG is, oops, MSG is no, okay. And now I need two more. Rand less than 4.0, okay. MSG is ask again, and then at the end we can have default value, okay. So I can just put else, okay. And MSG is I do not know, concentrate, so whatever it is, okay. So now it generates, okay. So now at the beginning, okay, if this button is not clicked, okay, this MSG is at the beginning concentrate and ask, and when you click on it, it will generate random number, and it change this MSG value and display some different message. So I'm going to save it. Unity, play. Oops. Oh, I forgot semicolon. Okay. So now there's click, concentrate and ask. When you click, yes. I do not know, concentrate. Ask again. Yes. So it basically will give you different answers depending on the random number generated. Okay. So literally, I mean, it doesn't look good or pretty, but this is a basic of 8-ball. Okay. And now though, we want to make it a little better, like make it slightly, we want to polish this. Okay. So now, what we want to do is, okay, I want to have first page. Okay. On the first page, I want to have, oh, like this is Magic 8 Ball app. I want you to concentrate and ask. And then there's going to be next button to go to next page. Okay? And then that next page, I want to have ask button and then go back button. Okay? So now, let's try to think about that. Okay? Again, the reason why I'm using this one is because this is a traditional way to create something using programming. So now we are so used to use game engine, drag certain things and make it, but this is how we used to create things using computer programming. Okay? So now, what I'm going to do is, okay, we know that in on GUI, okay, whatever you put on GUI, okay, it will get displayed on the screen. So now we have to think about, oh, how can I make the first entrance page and then next page? How can I do that? Okay. So traditionally, what we used to do is we use either using like frame number or stage number. Okay. So again, this is a kind of traditional way of programming things. So I'm going to show you this. So here, I'm going to say integer stage num equal 0 at the beginning. Okay. So we are going to use this stage num. Okay. If stage num is 0, okay, this is entrance page. If stage number is 1, this is a Magic 8 Ball page. Okay. So now, you probably know how to do this. Okay. Here at the beginning, I'm going to say if, okay, stage num 2 equal sign 0. Oops. Okay. We're going to do this. Okay. So probably I'm going to say GUI.label. New rect. I'll put something in the center. It could be something like the title page. Okay. So I'm going to put 240, 150, 20. Okay. Okay. My first Magic 8 Ball app. Okay. Now, okay, okay, I'm going to have one GUI button. Okay. If GUI.button I'll put this one underneath of my title, 240, 360, 80, 40, and I'm going to say start. And then once people click this start button, I'm going to make it a stage num equal to 1. Then what's going to happen is once people click this start button, stage num becomes 1, meaning this doesn't get satisfied anymore. So it's not going to display this anymore. Okay? And then I'm going to put this second one, okay, inside of if stage num 2 equal sign 1. Oops. I'm going to put this one inside here. So now the logic is depending on stage number, okay, I basically display different information. If stage number is 0, okay, we display this. Whenever people click start button, stage num becomes 1. So this doesn't get satisfied anymore. It doesn't display this anymore. Instead, it will display this one. Okay. Let's see whether it really works. I'm going to save and go play. So now stage num is 1. Okay. So my first Magic 8-Ball app start. Once I click on it, stage num becomes 1, and then it will display something else. Now click and concentrate and ask. You can go click. No. Ask again. So now you can actually use the Magic 8-Ball app. Okay. So long time ago, when we created a game with like BASIC or C++ and other programming language without game engine, or even, I mean, if you think about any like early text games, this is how we created. We have a bunch of stage numbers. And stage numbers 1, you do this. And then there's button or some interaction with player. And if this clicked, go to stage number 4 or 6. If there's another interaction, and you can actually come back to stage 2 or 3 and to do other things. Okay. Or in game 140, if you create dungeon game, there's a room number. Basically, this is kind of similar concept. Okay. And then now, once we display this, actually one thing you can do is you can have like another button down here. Like I'm going to have like 300 and 550, and then restart, and then I can do stage num equal to 0. Then basically I have one more button now that goes back to, oops, oh, I have to put this one. Okay. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, stage num equals 0. It should be fine. But basically this is saying I'm missing one actually curly braces. Okay. Anyways. Now when you do this, start, click and restart. Click, it will give me different stuff. If I click restart, it will go back to stage num 0 and start again. Okay. And this might be kind of stupid, but I use it stage num 0 at the beginning. Do you know why a lot of times computer programmers start numbers 0, not 1? Anybody? Or have you ever thought of it? Since a lot of times, I mean, like when we count, we start from 1, right? So sometimes, if these days, when we try to teach kids some programming, they probably, oh, I want to start with stage number 1. Okay? If stage number 1, and if clicked, go to 2, if 2, and go back to 1. Okay. So some people prefer start their number or integer from 1. But if you actually work with kind of old people like me, okay, we like to use 0 as our starting point. Have you ever thought of why people do that? There's reason why actually, yes. What? Binary start from 0, yes, that could be one answer. But another answer is human has finger, so we can count from 1. But robot doesn't have finger, basically. So they start from 0. It's supposed to be funny, but maybe not. But actually, I think someone famous, a lot of times people say like, yes, binary code is 1, but again, then people might think like, why it start from 0? Because robot or computer doesn't have finger, so it starts counting from 0, not from 1.
So it's a finger of suspicion.
Yeah. Anyways, so a lot of times, I mean, like when I program it, I start with I start with number 0, but sometimes people like to because it's kind of hard to think about stage 0. So some people like to use stage 1 instead. Okay? But anyways, now the backbone of the game is done, or app is done. Okay? Now let's think about how we can possibly decorate this. Okay? So we are going to use GUI draw texture. Okay? GUI draw texture. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab some image. Fortune teller image. Okay. And I can grab any image like here. Okay. So I have this 2 image list. So now, what I can do is, I can do, I can go back to my Unity and put these 2 images. Okay. And I am going to display this image, okay, into my in my game. Okay. So to do that, okay, we're going to use GUI draw texture. Draw texture. Okay. So you will be able to see how it's used. Okay. So pretty simple. Okay. So you can actually, ignore this for now. Okay. What I'm going to do, I need public texture A texture, and GUI draw texture new rectangle, X coordinate, Y coordinate, width and height, and name of texture. Okay. So I'm going to show you how to do this in Unity. Okay. So now, in GUI, I need something like public texture. Okay. Name would be, you can just name whatever you want. Okay. So I'll name as intro name or whatever. Okay. And then, okay, when stage number is 0, I'm going to put GUI dot draw texture, okay, new rect, okay, X, Y coordinate, and width and height. So if I want to put this one to cover all the screen, I can do 0 and 0. Okay. Width, I use it, I forgot which one I use it, 480 and 800. So I'm going to say 480, 800, and I'm going to put intro texture. Okay. So 2 lines. I put this line, public texture intro, and in stage number 0, I put GUI draw texture, new rect, and intro. So now, I'm going to save it. And here, I want you to be able to visualize this because I put it as public. I'm going to see this texture with a blank box in my Unity. Okay? That's the reason why we are using public variable. Because it's public, now we can get an access to this particular variable from outside of this script, okay, in Unity. Okay? So now, once you save it, go back to Unity. Now look at here, Game Manager. Now you see this intro. Non-selected now, but now you can drag this image file here. And now we basically set up this image as intro texture. So now if you play this, you will see that image. Okay? Like this. Okay. The reason why it appears this size is because I put 0, 0. I put this image right over here with the same width and same height. Okay? And now I can do exactly the same thing for second image. Copy this, paste it, and ask me or whatever. And then I'll copy this, put it here, and this one will be ask me. And whatever name you can use whatever name you want, and save. And now I'm going to see ask me here, drag this image right over here, and now I'm going to see this image. When I start, I'll see this image, and go back, start, go back. Okay. And then we have like a 7 minutes. Let's try to do this really quick. I'm going to put a little sound bite. Okay. I'm going to say, yes. And then here, if you like to play with this, one thing you can do is you can use effect. In this case, I'll use reverb. Reverb basically make the sound as if it's recorded in like different size of the room. Okay, so I can do room size a lot bigger, and then I can preview this. So you can see, you can hear like a little echo. Okay. Or if you like to play with this more, there is pitch shift. Where is it? Or you can use vocoder or some other things. I can see the pitch shift here. Where is it? Change the pitch maybe. Yeah. So here another thing, like from D to B. So now I'm actually the changing the pitch a little bit. Okay. So now I have this. So I'm going to Export as MP3. Yes. I'm going to do download. Okay. Save. Okay. And then I can erase it. No. Okay. I'll do the same thing. Okay. I don't know. Ask again. So I'm going to just use the three of them. Okay. So I have like 3 sound bites. Okay. I don't know. No and yes. So now I have 3 sound bites. And for the soundbite, okay, a lot of times you can memorize it, or you can simply use Unity, play one shot, and then you can get this one and copy and paste. Probably it's faster this way. I'm going to use especially this one. Okay, I'll copy this and go here. Okay. So I have audio clip, impact, audio source, and then I have play one shot. Okay. And here I'm going to say this one. Okay. So I'm going to say actually impact 1, impact 2, impact 3. Okay. And then here I basically need this one, 2 more. So 1, 2, and 3, and save. And I'm going to see impact 1, 2, 3 audio clip here now. Oops. Okay. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put this one. So now play, start, click. Oh, I forgot to add audio source. So here I have to add audio source. Okay, now it will work. So now, like, this is a fairly simple way to create simple app using Unity. This due is this coming Sunday. Okay. So and then on Thursday, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cover dynamic positioning, because right now it works fine with this particular setting. But what if you change this one to different portrait? So now it appears like this, right? So we're going to talk about dynamic positioning to understand that. And then another thing is, right now our font kind of looks ugly. We need to think about how to use customized font and using GUI layout. We're going to do that on Thursday. And also, we are going to talk about like a next group project on Thursday. All right, I will see you guys on Thursday. And yes.
I just have a quick question.
All right.
I pressed why the texture doesn't show up on it.
All right, and I'll see you on Thursday.